So again, this is a local lab that I have created. Let me just go to this. Yeah, let me just log in. Okay. So I already have a Kali machine I have with me. So all the attacks I am going to performing through this Kali machine.
So to perform this pen test, do I need to have authorized permission from AWS so that I can do? Yeah.
Question actually. So let's suppose a client comes to you and they want you to access their application that is hosted on AWS.
Okay.
Or the services that they have hosted on AWS. Okay. So if we are particularly looking at the misconfiguration that is particularly done by the client, then we don't have to take authorization from the AWS because these services are offered by AWS but used by these clients. Okay.
Right.
You don't have to take authorization from AWS because you are looking at the misconfiguration that are done by the clients themselves, right? But if you want to, let's suppose if you want to pen test a S3 service or the service that Microsoft is taking care of, then you cannot do that because you have to take proper authorization from AWS.
Okay.
But if you are working on a client environment, then you don't have to care about AWS authorizations. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Let's start with.
So let's assume with the scenario.
Yeah.
Let's do a pen test then and there. So let's suppose you are a client, you come to me and you want to assess your, you want to come to me and you want me to assess your AWS environment. And you just told, again, we are going for a black box testing. You just gave me the name of your company.
Okay.
And what's the name of the company? Redfox Security. Okay. Don't know how you forgot that. But yeah, that's the name of the company, which is, okay. So let's start with it. So what we do first, we will look at the public facing infrastructure of the company. Maybe a website hosted there, maybe they have their infrastructure that is public facing, right?
Yes.
Particularly a website. Most of the time it's a website. So what we can do, maybe we can start with the subdomain enumeration, or maybe we can start with the phishing attacks, phishing simulations as well we can also do, or we can look for OSINT techniques to get any credentials that are publicly available by mistake. So these kind of things.
Gathering more information.
Yeah. So let's start with subdomain enumeration. So for that I am going to be using a tool called GoBuster. So let's do that. GoBuster. I am going to using the DNS module because we are enumerating the subdomains.
Can you help the viewers about how to install GoBuster as well?
Yeah, it's I think pretty forward. It's apt get install GoBuster. I think if you just search Google how to install GoBuster, it's pretty straightforward. Okay. So GoBuster, the name of the module is the DNS because we are brute forcing the subdomains of this domain. What is the domain? Tell me the domain.
You said.
Redfoxsec.com. Okay. Let's pen test our own website.
Alright.
Okay. And let's give a word list, which is user. That is stored on this location. User share word list. I think under this DNS directory, we have this. Okay. So this word list has a list of top 500 common subdomains. As we can see, these are some of the domains that is being used by our company, which is redfoxsec.com. We have the www subdomain, then we have web domain, and then we have lab.redfoxsec. And to which domain we are going to test, Tarak?
Lab.redfoxsec.com. It makes sense.
It makes sense, right? Because I don't have authorizations to test this www and web domain from our company. So this is the one that I am authorized to, which is lab.redfoxsec.com. Yes. That's what I am going to perform actions on. So yeah, now we have the name of our company, name of this domain, subdomain, right? Let me just copy it. Let's run nmap and see what services are running on this domain. And let's hit enter. And let's wait for a few seconds. I think we are going to be coming up with the nmap playlist as well.
Yes,
So stay tuned for that on our YouTube channel. As we can see, we have two services running, which is SSH service as well as this HTTP service. This okay, let's we don't have a credential for the HTTP SSH service, right?
Yes.
So let's see what's on their HTTP service. I think they have maybe a website. Let's see what kind of website they have. Let me just open Firefox here. Let's go to this address, lab.redfoxsec.com. Okay, I think, yeah, I think our, okay, I think I have to give http://lab.redfoxsec.com, hit enter. Okay, looks like they are hosting a fox gallery there that has a list of images of foxes. I think they really love fox. That's why the name as well. Okay, so let's say that you came to me and you have your website like this. So we will start off with the web pen testing. I think if you have taken our course, then you can pretty easily hack this website.
Definitely. So
Definitely, right?
yeah. So we have courses on web applications as well. So do check it out. We have a playlist as well. So it's like at Redfox Security, there is a plethora of information that is available, and it's free of cost as well. But again, if you want to get more information and want to learn more advanced techniques, the advanced courses are available as well at training.redfoxsec.com.
I think it's academy.redfox, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, okay.
I think in one of the domains it's there.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, let's start with this finding vulnerabilities in this website.
Yes.
So yeah, so what we can do, let's see, maybe what we can do, maybe we can read the page source, or yeah, let's do that. Yeah, so when we read the page source, we will get to know the front end code, and if we can see here that the images that this website is taking from the S3 bucket. How I know it's a S3 bucket? If you look at the URL here you see, https:// this is the name of the bucket, and .s3 name of the region, and then amazonaws.com, and then images is the folder or the bucket name. Then we have the name of the object or the image.
This is well explained in the slides as well.
Yeah. So yeah, so from this information, if you see, this bucket images stores 3 objects: fox1, fox2, fox3. Okay, so let me just copy. So this is how you will know that this website is using AWS. Okay. Also, you can also use other subdomain techniques to find out that your website uses this. But as we can see, it's straightforward that we are using this company lab.redfoxsec.com. This website is using some resources that are hosted on AWS. Okay, this is a clear indication that they are using some of the services of AWS. Maybe S3, EC2, maybe more services, right? Yeah, so let's copy this. And we know that it's a S3 bucket, right? So let's enumerate this S3 bucket. Okay, what's inside this bucket? So how we can enumerate? So you can
How are you going to do that?
How are you going to do that? So you can use AWS CLI. So AWS CLI provides a programmatic way to access AWS resources or services. Okay, so let's do that. So I am going to use AWS. So you can install AWS CLI. So AWS, name of the service S3, name of the module. Let's say that we want to list the contents of this bucket. So ls for listing it, and then we will specify the name of the bucket. I think S3 : / name of the bucket. Okay, I think I have to remove this thing. That's the name of the bucket, which is okay. So this is the, I think I made a mistake here. Let me just
That's fine.
clarify it.
Yeah.
So where is it? Yeah. So again, this images is not the name of the bucket. This is the folder inside this bucket. So this is the name of the bucket. Okay. Bucket name .s3.region.amazonaws.com / name of the folder that is inside this bucket, and then the object name. Okay. So yeah, so that's the bucket that we want to enumerate. So let's enumerate it.
Sure.
Let's see. Again, looks like we don't have any credentials set up. Okay. So what we can do, I think there is an option called no sign request. So using unauthenticated access, you can enumerate it.
Okay.
So there are some, as I told you, misconfigurations can happen in a bucket, right? So a bucket can be publicly accessed. As we can see that these Fox images are I think they are publicly accessible. Let me just let me just copy it. Copy link and let me just paste it. And as we can, since it is publicly accessible, anyone can download it, right? So we will assume that this bucket is publicly accessible, and it is storing the images of these Foxes.
The application.
Yeah. Okay, these are the applications. These are the images of these Foxes. Okay. Now let's do one thing. Yeah. So we can, since we don't have any credential, right? We will go with this option, no sign request. So it will not ask for authentication. And let's see. Okay. Looks like they have given permission, the read-only permission to all the unauthorized users for this entire bucket.
Okay.
That's why instead of this images folder, we are also seeing a data folder as well. Okay, that's where misconfiguration is. So if they would have set up this IAM or bucket policy on this images folder itself, not the bucket but the images folder, so that only this images folder is publicly accessible.
So basically there would be no room for unauthorized access.
Yeah, for this data folder. As you can see, there is another folder that we can see, that the data folder.
Yeah.
Looks interesting, right?
Yes, totally.
So
something sensitive over there.
Let's see what sensitive is here. Images we already know, right? What sort of images? Yeah. So let me just quickly show this as well. So images will have this Fox 1, Fox 2, Fox 3 JPG files. And let's look for this data.
Oh. There you have it.
There you have it. Yeah, sometimes you get lucky. So we are laughing here, but there are times that we have seen sensitive information that is publicly available, right?
It does happen.
It does happen. So yeah. So what we can do, let's download it, because right now we are using the list permissions here. Let's say we do, whether do we have a download permission or get permission on this object or not. What we can do, let's try to download it. And if we don't have permissions, we will get denied. Okay. So S3, let's copy it. Let me just copy this, paste it. So that's the object they want to download, and let's name it as the same thing. Okay, now let's try to download it. I think it's trying. Yeah, if you see, download to this file. Okay, now let's see passwords. Okay, as you can see, there are some credentials as well as a IP also available, right? So we now know that we have IP and we have the probable username and the password as well, right? So let's enumerate this IP, what this have, what are the services running on this IP, right? Okay. So again, the same thing. And let's remember the username password as well. This is admin and password 123. Let me just remember. Then let's do one thing. Nmap against this this IP address, and let's see what sort of services are running on this IP address. As we can see, same services like on this IP as well. We have SSH as well as HTTP service. Okay, and we have a credential as well, right? So let's try to log in into the SSH service. SSH. Name of, let's go for root user. Okay. Okay, looks like the root user don't have the permission to log in on this machine using the password. So there is another default user on the EC2 instances, majorly AWS Linux instances, which is EC2 user. That's the default user. So let's try for that. Maybe we can use that password 123 credential for this user. Oh, so again we are seeing permission denied. Okay. What can we do here now? we have another service running, which is HTTP service, right?
Yes.
So looks like we cannot log in via SSH service. So let's try for this. What's running on this HTTP service, right? So let me just copy this IP address. This one. Let's see what's running on this website. Okay. So it's looking for a basic authentication. Maybe you can brute force this using Hydra. So we also have a Hydra playlist on your YouTube channel as well that you can see to try to brute force it. But we already have the credentials with us. Maybe this might work on this this authentication page. So let's try that. Admin, I think password was password 123. Okay, looks like we are successfully logged in. Okay, now we have a system information dashboard here. Maybe this is the dashboard page that is used by the client themselves, maybe to find out the system information for this machine.
Okay.
The EC2 instance, maybe. So let's click on uses. Okay, it's showing the uses of the basically the size of the files that are stored on that instance, and this memory usage is showing how much memory is allocated and how much amount of memory is free. So what can we do that, right? What can we do with this? I don't think we can do anything with this because it's safe, right? Is it, Tarak?
Yes.
Is it safe?
Not really. Because you can see a lot of sensitive information being displayed.
Yeah. So let's try to pen test this dashboard as well.
And talking about your Hydra course, it has been specially made by Shashi. And secondly, we have another channel that's Redfox Bharat, and there we are uploading a number of videos. So if you can, it's from Hindi, Marathi, and a lot of other languages that are all Indian languages. So you can check that channel out as well, and you can just drop a like and subscribe there as well.
So yeah, let's try to pen test it. So let's open up our very favorite tool.
I know the Bible.
Let's open Burp Suite. Yeah, let's open Burp Suite. So again, we have a playlist on our English channel, which is Redfox YouTube channel.
Yes.
I think Tarak especially has prepared that.
Sure. So it's like Burp Suite. We have a playlist on our YouTube as well. You can check it out. So it's right from starting Burp Suite to configuring it to testing the applications as well. So do check it out on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, so let's start Burp Suite and let's try to capture the request and see what sort of request is going to the website itself. Okay, I think I already have Foxy proxy set up with my this browser. Where is that? Oh yeah, so this was the website, right?
Yes.
So let's try to intercept this request. So we are going to be using Foxy proxy. Let's enable it so that Burp can intercept it. Let's turn on the intercept here. I think let me just close these steps.
Sure. Do understand that all of these practicals that are being displayed are solely for educational purposes. Please do not try this at your home, work, or organization, because in case you get into any trouble, Redfox Security is not responsible for it.
Yeah. So let's intercept it. Let's intercept this request.
Usage request. Okay.
As we can see that it is a post request. It is going to this endpoint system info, and it is going on this disk. It is using this disk parameter value for this info type parameter. Let's send it to repeater, and let's see. Let's understand this request. As we can see, when we send this request on the repeater tab, it's giving 200 OK and the same details as we saw on the web page. Let's try to do some testing with this parameter itself. So let's try with the quotes. That's what we generally do to try to get some error from the application. Maybe if they don't have proper error handling, we might get something.
Yes.
So let's do that.
And in a lot of cases, we do actually get some amount of information in there as well.
Okay, when we send the request, if you see, it says command failed, and it is trying some bin bash, some syntax error is coming. So I think it is using this bin bash to execute this command on the Linux system. It looks like, right? So we can opt for command injection vulnerability here. So what we can do, we can just change this command using, let me just remove the quote, and using semicolon. So semicolon is a way to run multiple commands. We can combine multiple commands.
Yes.
So let's, which command you want me to run, Tarak?
It's your choice again.
So we can give who am I command.
Yeah,
I think that's
most basic one.
That's what we can do. Who am I command.
And it's completely fine if you're not familiar with command injection and all of this stuff, because all of this is covered in our web application course, which is offered at academy.redfoxit.com.
So again, all these courses and upcoming courses are linked. So if you see, right now I'm talking about AWS pen testing, but again I'm showing web part, because you need to learn that as well. So let's try to who am I, and let's send. As you can see that we are the root user on this machine. Okay. I think we have a command execution. So maybe let's do hostname. Okay. So looks like we are already root on this machine. So maybe we can get a reverse shell or something like that. But that will only limit our access to this machine itself, right? Since we are a root user on this machine, we are limited to that, right? But as I told you that AWS has, the AWS instance has service called instance metadata service. And if a role is assumed, or if a role is attached to this EC2 instance, let's suppose, then you can carry out the credentials of the role from this instance metadata service. Okay. So how you can do that? So you can query that out using the curl command, and it is hosted at this address. I think let me just fix it. Curl http://169.254.169.254/ let's just send it. As we can see, we are getting some data or metadata. Looks like we are getting some folders which has these versions. Looks like 2011, 12. So we will go for this PC. There is a latest as well. So we will go for this latest one, because AWS is revising the changes, and the latest is the latest one, right? So let's see what's inside this latest folder. Send it. And so inside this latest folder we have two types of folders, which is metadata folder and user data folder. And as we saw in the slides, that metadata service holds the password or the credential for the roles, and this user data will stores the scripts that we want that will run on when the system logs on. So inside this user data you can go for the scripts, or if you want to go for metadata and if you want to get access to the credentials, we can go for this metadata folder. So let's do that. Metadata/send it, and as we can see here, I think is there a spelling mistake here? Oh, okay, double T. Okay, metadata send. And as you can see, there are again some folders are available here. We can see that host name, identity credentials, instance actions, instance ID, lot of folders available to us, right? So there is another folder called IAM. If you see here, there is a folder called IAM. So this folder has the credential of the roles that are attached to this instance service. Okay. And this is by default. We are not guessing anything. This is the endpoint that I am creating here. It's the by default endpoint to get this credential from this metadata service. Okay. And let's again send the request. And as you can see, inside this IAM folder, we have another folder which is security credentials. So let's copy that again and paste it here. let's see what's inside this. So inside this folder, we see a role here. And the role name is EC2 S3 access role. Looks interesting, right?
Yeah.
So let's just copy this role and see and get to the credentials of this role. Okay, now let's send it. Whoa. As we can see, we have the access keys and the tokens for this access role. Okay, so how AWS is giving this credential to these roles using the HTS service.
Okay.
So using the basically whenever a role wants to access its credentials or a EC2 instance using this assumed role, it want to access the credentials, it will go to this endpoint and this endpoint will query the HTS service, and from that it will get this credential. These are the temporary token. So it will expire after some time. But anytime if it is expired, you can just go to this endpoint. Even if you click send again you will get the data. And if you see, this is the expiry time of this. So again, this is a short-term credential. This is not a long-term credential. So yeah, let's see how we can use these credentials and see what sort of permissions that are attached to this role, which is EC2-S3-access role. Okay. How we can do that? We can enumerate manually using AWS CLI, or you can enumerate using tools as well. So there are many tools available for cloud pen testing. I think we have one of the major one, which is the Paku. Paku is the name of the tool, which is developed by Rhino Security Labs. We have other tools like Scout Suit. I think CloudFox also have one of the tools. So yeah, so these are some of the tools we are going to in this podcast. I am going to showcasing Paku. So this is going to a very basic video on Paku. I am not going to be in detail because we will have some other podcast on Paku. But yeah, this time yeah. So let's use Paku to see what sort of permission that this role has using these credentials. Okay. So let's configure Paku. So again, I think I have already set up Paku with me. So let's do that.
I must say.
Yeah. So first you have to choose a session.
Yeah.
So let's create a new session using the 0 option. What would you like to? Okay, let's name this session podcast. And yeah, so it is trying to set up a session, and this session requires some credentials, right? As you can see right now, this podcast session has no keys set. So we already have the keys with us. So let's use those keys to set up it. I think first we have to set using the set module, set_keys. We can set keys. So first we have to give an alias for these keys. So let's give EC2 S3 keys. Okay. Or role keys. Hit enter. And it will ask for access key ID. I think we already have it. Let's just copy it. Paste it here. Then it will ask for the secret access key. Here is the secret access key. Let's copy it, paste it here, and then it's the session token that we have to go. We also have that as well.
Lots of information in the error, it seems.
Yep. Let's copy that and let's paste it. Okay.
Okay.
Now we have the key setup. As we can see, this is the session and this is the alias for our keys. Okay. So let's start with the first command, which is who am I, and it just returned us the data. It is just gave us the same thing, access key and other things as well. Let's see what are the modules available by Paku. So let's do ls to list the modules.
Okay.
So these are the modules that are available. I think this is if you want to perform reconnaissance unauthenticated, you can use these
Okay.
these modules. If you want to go for persistence, you can use this. If you want evasion, you can use these. For later moment, these are available. For enumeration, looks like a lot more available. So these are the modules that you can use to enumerate.
Okay.
I think right now we already passed the initial access phase because we have the credential. Now we are on the enumeration phase. If we go via the cyber kill chain, so these are some of the modules: the exploit, other exfiltration, escalate, others. Right. So right now we want to enumerate, right? So let's enumerate. So which service we want to enumerate? So let's go for EC2 enum. So as you can see, these are the services like EC2, ECR, ECS, Glue. So these are the services. So let's enumerate this. So how you can run it? So let me just first let's understand about this module, EC2 enum module. So let's understand something about it. So as we can see, we can use these options. We can to enumerate an instance. We can provide an instance name. Yes. To enumerate EC2 service for a specific region, we can go for regions, and there are much more options available. So let's just directly use this option EC2 enum for a specific region. Let's see what sort of EC2 services are running for a client. Right now you are my client. So what sort of services you have ran in the Mumbai region? Let's find out that EC2 enum dash region. This is the code for Mumbai region, which is AP South 1. Unrecognized command. Why? Because we have to give this run option here to run this module. So let's run this module, and it will enumerate. It will try to find all the services that are running in this EC2 services which are running inside this Mumbai region. Looks like we are getting some failure, access denied, 0 instance found, no security groups found. Looks like this credential don't have the privileges to enumerate EC2 services, or maybe that there is no service present, no resources present in this service. What else we can do? So let's enumerate other services. So again, ls for list the services. Let's enumerate buckets. So we can use this module, which is S3 download bucket. So basically this is an exfiltration module. So what it will do, it will query out all the bucket names, and it will try to download all the contents from these buckets, providing we have the access, this role have the access.
Okay. Yeah, that is the most important thing, right? Because initially when we did the thing, but we could not have, because we did not have access to the files. Now let's see if we get some access in S3 bucket.
Yeah. So I think let's try the help option to see what sort of options available. There is a DL to download option. There is names only. You just enumerate the bucket names. So I think by default it's a download. So let's set to download all the contents. So let's run it. Try to download all the contents. Okay, looks like these are the buckets that are available for you that you have set up. So these are some of the buckets. But looks like you are getting some authorization error. That's why this IAM service is very important to understand, so that you will know when you get an error why this error is happening. Yeah. So looks like you don't have some sort of permissions to download these the objects in these buckets. Yeah. So yeah, but we have this names only flag, right? So I think we give the dash names only. I think run, we have to give run. It will just give us the names. It will not download it, it will just give us the name. So looks like we have, this role has the list permission. Yep. That's why we are able to get to the names of the buckets as well. Yes. If this role don't have this permission set up to get or to list this object, we will not get that. Yes. Okay. So that's what we can assume, that this role has this the listing role, right? So which one is looking interesting? Let's say we have this S3 vulnerable Fox lab, because yeah, so that's what we can use. Since we don't have the permissions, right? I think we have the permission to download things, but again, if you see, we are getting some other error. Is not authorization to perform. Okay. So basically here, if you see, that's why I'm saying you have to understand these IAM permission policies, because if you see, maybe we have the download role, but we don't have is this permission. That is, maybe the Paku is using in the background to perform some actions. Okay, to query something. So looks like we don't have this CloudWatch get metric statistics role permission. So that might be the reason maybe we have this role has the download permission, but this role don't have this permission exactly which Paku is using. It is giving us some authorization errors, but we might have the download rules, right? So again, don't solely rely on the tools. We can also have manually, we can enumerate using AWS CLI. So let's use that. So let's try to enumerate this bucket, S3 vulnerable fox. Let me just copy it. Again, AWS S3, which is the name of service. ls, let's try to list the contents of this bucket. S3:/ bucket name, and hit enter. Okay, looks like we don't have any credential. That's why it's asking for us to configure some credentials. But again, as we saw in the previous example of the previous bucket that we were enumerating, we use this no sign request option. No sign request. So right now we are enumerating this unauthenticated. Okay. And let's see. And if we see that we are getting list buckets version 2 operation is access denied. It means that unauthenticated user don't have list permission on this bucket. Okay. Basically that's why. But let's set up this role credentials that we have.
You really are creating a lot of suspense right now.
Yeah. So let's see. But we know that this role has this listing permission, at least the list permissions. That's why the Paku was able to get to the names of the buckets, right? So let's set up the credentials so that the AWS CLI can use these credentials, and then using those credentials we can try to enumerate this bucket. Okay, let's do that. What we can do here, so how we can set up, you can use AWS configure option to configure the credentials, or you can directly export using the export. You can export the these key value pairs, or the other thing you can use, you can set this credential in a file called I think it's called credentials, if I am not wrong. So let me just try directly writing in this file so that AWS CLI can use it. I think it's inside this folder .aws/ I think it's credentials. Yeah. So that's the name of the file that AWS CLI by default uses to look for the credentials. Yeah, looks like we have some credentials already set up, but I don't think this is we can use. Let me just copy so that we can change the values at least. What is happening here? Okay, I think I copied this as well. Okay. Okay, I think yeah. So this is the credentials that we want to configure. I think let's give a profile name as well. Let's give podcast, just an alias name to use the credentials. Access key ID. Where is my cursor? Let's copy it from here. Let's paste it here. Give the secret access key. Well, not so secret. Here it is. I think it's still there. Copy. Let's paste it here. And then finally we have to provide the credentials. So the session token itself. So let's copy and paste it. And let's save this file. Okay, so we now have a profile called podcast that we can use to provide AWS the credentials of the
So
that role.
So CLI is going to basically use that as the default one.
So these credentials are attached to this role.
Nice.
Which role? This role. EC2-S3-access role.
Yeah.
Okay. And this role is attached to the instance. Okay. Basically, this role is attached to the instance, and from that instance we get to this role. And this role, using the metadata endpoint, we can get to the credentials that is assigned to this role. Now we will try to find out whether this role has some permission of the S3 bucket or not. Okay. So let's use the same option. This time, instead of no request, let's use this profile using the profile option, podcast. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Looks like this role has some access over this bucket, which is S3 vulnerable Fox lab. Okay. As we can see, we have two directories, two folders available in this bucket, which is .ssh and images. Which one do you want me to go, Tarak?
Use it. SSH.
Let's go with
SSH. Images, I think we already had been there.
No. I think so. This is a different bucket. Okay. If you see, that had credentials. Data, in that data folder, it has credentials. This is a different bucket that we are enumerating here. Again the same folders, which is these are the folders. So let's go inside this SSH folder and let's see what's inside this folder. Looks like we have some other credentials, rightly so. And let's try to download it. Let's see if this role has the get actions to on this bucket or on the objects of this bucket. It can download it. So let's try to do that. S3 copy creds.txt and let's save it with the same name. Looks like the creds are already downloaded. So cat cred, what's inside this.
Oh, looks like we have the SSH key.
Yeah, looks like we have basically you as a client have saved your private key on this bucket and made this bucket available to this role that I have just hacked into. Okay.
What are my
you are thinking that it's secure?
What are my developers doing right now?
So you are thinking that it's secure because this is not publicly accessible bucket, but this role has access to this bucket. Okay. And we exploited the vulnerabilities in the web application to get access to the instance metadata service, and from that metadata service we get to the access credentials that are attached to this role, which is EC2-S3 access role. That's why.
More like an escalation.
Yeah. So we have some this looks like a private key of instance maybe, and I think if we saw the these passwords, we have an IP with us. Okay. Right. So maybe and this IP we saw from SSH from Nmap that this IP is also running apart from this website, the dashboard website. It also running a SSH service, right? Yes. So maybe we can try logging in to that service. So let me just quickly copy this thing. Let's copy this thing, and I think actually we don't have to copy it. What we can do, so we already have the creds file, right? So what we can do, we can just try to logging in with that private file or the private key. What we can do, let's try to do that. I think we have to change the permissions on that file, chmod 400. I think let me just increase this. So we can just change the permissions on this private file. I think we have to go 400 so that it will be valid for the session. creds.txt, let me just give the permissions, and then using this we can try to log in. I think I again forgot the IP address, so let me just copy this. That's fine. ssh-i creds, which is the private file. Let's use the root user, name of the IP address, and try to do that, try to log in. Looks like we are getting permission denied. Maybe we don't, these keys are not for the root user. So again, there is another default user which is called EC2 user. Let's try to do that for that. Oh, looks like these SSH keys are for this EC2 user. Now again, if you see, we are now able to access this from this the key that is stored in the private in the bucket. Using that key, we are able to access this machine. Now we are inside this machine. So this is how you can exploit misconfigurations in S3 buckets, in EC2 IMDS service to get to some credentials or sensitive information.
Okay.
So I think my lab ends here. The demo lab ends here. I think so. Again, let me just repeat what we have done till now in my lab. So as a client, you came to me looking for the assessment of your cloud infrastructure. So I just have the name of your company, right? So first, what I did, I used GoBuster to enumerate the subdomains. There I found a subdomain called lab.redfoxsec.com. Then I went to that website, and on that website I saw images of some foxes. And when I look at the source code, I got to know the bucket name. Then I tried to find whether this bucket is publicly accessible or not. But in that case, the bucket was publicly accessible, as well as the permissions are misconfigured. So that why I am saying permission was misconfigured, because apart from this images bucket, maybe this data, apart from this images folder in that bucket, there is another folder called data, which maybe don't mean to be publicly accessible. From that data folder, we get to know the IP that might be internal IP of yours that you might be using, and from that IP that has a username and password. And when I go to that IP address, there is another website hosted at that IP address which requires a basic authentication. Maybe you're thinking that's secure because it has basic authentication. But in that S3 bucket data folder, we have the credentials as well of the basic authentication page as well. So we use the admin and its password to log into that application. And on that application, we have a dashboard system. There, what we did using burp, we find out that the parameter is vulnerable to command injection. Basically, the website is vulnerable to command injection. So we performed command injection vulnerability to query data from the IMDS metadata service, and which data we want, we retrieved the credential of the role, which was EC2-S3-access role. Role access, I think it was that. So from the IMDS data service, metadata service, we got to know the credentials of that role. Then what we did, then using that credential, we set up our Paku tool. And from that Paku, we enumerated EC2 and other services as well. But we got to find out that this role has some access on your S3 service, basically list the S3 bucket service. So there we got to know about some of the buckets. So using Paku, we tried to download it, but we were not able to do that. Then we switched to the AWS CLI. So in AWS CLI, we configured the AWS CLI to use the credential attached to this role. And then from there, we enumerated this bucket. This time, apart from listing the buckets, we saw that we have the permissions to list the objects inside the buckets, as well as to download the bucket objects. So there we found a folder, interesting folder called .ssh. On that folder, we found the private key. And using that private key, we get access to the instance, which I think this is the instance that was running initially your Fox page. I think this is the one that is hosting that, because I have set up this lab, so I know. So so using that SSH keys, you are able to log into this this machine, and maybe this machine also has some role attached to it, and then you can further escalate. So again, you can chain different vulnerabilities and different misconfiguration to escalate your privileges into this AWS environment until you get access to some very sensitive data, or maybe you can get access to the root user, or maybe any other high privilege user, to basically compromise the entire AWS account. So this is one of the labs that I have just created to showcase some of the misconfigurations.